Shut up and sit down.
It's where the big boys play. SICW.
Welcome to Surgery Podcast, everybody. Episode number 95. All right, we have a pretty in-depth show today, but before we get into it, we just want to announce we went over 700 subscribers, and that is somewhere around 40 or more just in this past week, which for us is awesome and excellent. But in the past 30 days, we've had 12,000 new views, close to 600 hours watched, and almost 100 subscribers that are new. I know I speak for everybody when I say we appreciate you. And keep coming back.
Thank you. I mean, this is something I keep a tab on. I look at every day, probably multiple times a day. And I can't say nothing but thank you guys for liking our stuff, subscribing to it. The only thing I ask is our next goal is, every young YouTube channel's goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's when a lot more things can happen. And from what I gather, it's also when it starts to snowball. And what I mean by that is normally when you get to 1,000 subscribers, all of a sudden it starts snowballing into a bigger ball, meaning a lot more eyes on our product. And from what I gathered,
you always want eyes on your product.
Okay, I'm talking about our product right now, Nathan.
That's why you wear those tight jeans in the rings, girls.
Keep your dirty mind down for a second.
Yeah, guys, shoot your shot.
I always wondered about your camera angles you record, but now I get it.
Right, Jesus. Anyhow, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers because that will help us out tremendously. When you get to 1,000. All of a sudden, like I said, it snowballs into a bigger ball, and everyone's got eyes on our product, and that's what we want. I was talking to another YouTuber / TikTok account guy, and he was basically talking about how if you can get up to 1,000 subscribers, that's when the WWE will take a little bit more look at you, and not necessarily that they'll invite you backstage to the press pass, but they'll at least look at you right now and see how fast your account can grow. And then, the companies will start handing those press packets out to us. And that's what we would love to do. As you know, you guys haven't watched Raw yet. I have. And I forgot the YouTube... it was actually a streamer. Triple H did a thing with a streamer yesterday, inviting him to the Royal Rumble, and this cat has got like over 1 million subscribers to his stream account, and so it's kind of weird, kind of new that Triple H is doing this because I think it was last Monday he. Did the same thing with another guy. So he's like bringing more eyes and more attention to their product by branching out and bringing different people in. Kind of like the Jey Uso thing, where Jey Uso every week has been coming out with a different rapper. It's getting the attention on him, But yeah, so just thank you for, watching our videos, subscribing to our account, and, please share the stuff too, because I'm sure your friends or family would love what we try to give you every week. But on that note, let's get down to the down and dirty stuff here. Previously, I talked to you guys about the new TV show that WWE is coming out with. A little bit more stuff has come out about that. It's called, it's really just the initials, LFG. It's going to be a show on A&E. It's going to debut next month, February the 16th. And the LFG stands for Legends and Future Greats. From what I gather, it is going to be like a spinoff of the NXT, well, not the current NXT, but what NXT was, what was it on MTV? Tough Enough. So it's kind of like Tough Enough. And then the last series of Tough Enough was called NXT, but now it's a whole new company, so you can't go off of that now. But so it's kind of like Tough Enough. where some legends, Undertaker, Booker T, Mickey James, and Bubba Dudley is going to be the coaches. Splashed in with some Triple H and some Shawn Michaels just to kind of see how they're doing along the ways. But those are going to be the main coaches, Undertaker, Booker T. Now, Booker T's been a coach before on Tough Enough, and so I know he's a pretty good one. Bubba Dudley, I think he's going to be like the antagonist, really, because each series normally had an antagonist. There was one, I think it was the second season of Tough Enough, where Bob Holly was the antagonist, basically. Or at least it was filmed that way, where he was the one that really toughened up the kids versus Al Snow, who was more of a mentor and a caregiver, I guess you would say, to him. But yeah, so that's a new show that's coming out. A&E's also getting WWE Greatest Moments and WWE Rivals. The only thing that sucks is I think, and it's probably a good thing for them, I've got Hulu, I got Netflix, you got all these other channels, but none of them have A&E on it. So now you got to subscribe to that. So it seems like each one of their products is going to a different streaming service, basically. And there's not one streaming service that's going to have it all.
How many shows do they have right now?
Well, it depends if you want to come out. So Raw's on Netflix, SmackDown is still on regular cable. You got NXT. You're going to have the 3 that I just talked about, so that's 6. From time to time, they have the show that they go around and try to collect all the, was it Lost Treasures, I think is what it's called. So they have that one. Every now and then they'll throw out a new biography because, their last one was on Kurt Angle, which was a very good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, so, and then they had the one that was on Roku. And their Roku one was just last year, or early last year. And that too was based off of like a Tough Enough series.
Next Gen?
Yeah, Next Gen. And that was a good series too. I've talked about that one many times on the podcast because it kind of shows the behind the scenes of what it takes to be a professional wrestler.
So almost 10 shows, but they just released a new documentary on Mr. Perfect. I watched that one a couple days ago. It's a pretty good one.
I have not seen that. Is that on A&E or is that on?
No, WWE released it on their YouTube page.
Oh, and see, and they got the YouTube too. And, where Peacock used to have their pay-per-views, and right after the pay-per-view would be their media blitz type thing where they would ask questions they would get asked questions from the media. That's now moved on to their YouTube. So now if you want to watch that, you got to watch the pay-per-view and then switch to YouTube. So they're trying to use every single platform they can. Which is probably a good thing for them because they're getting money from each direction. More props to them. But it makes their customers or their fans now have to start pulling from everything as well,
Well, do you think anybody actually signed up to Netflix just to watch WWE? Because the numbers are falling. You and I talked about it earlier. The numbers have dropped 49% since its premiere, but still at 3 million worldwide, which is better than they were ever on network. But network only does the United States, not global.
Yeah, so I don't know because there was so many people that signed up for Netflix for that Mike Tyson fight, even though it is what it was.
A joke. I'm not afraid to say it.
But a lot of people signed up for Netflix just for that. So Did they have an influx of subscribers? I don't know, because they had such an influx like a month earlier.
I would say they probably did. However, I don't think they've done anything in the first. I didn't watch this week of Raw, but the first 2 weeks of Raw, I don't think they did anything to keep fans.
No, I don't think so either. And this is technically, I mean, I guess they do have Friday Night SmackDown as the go home, right before a pay-per-view. But this was Monday Night Raw right before the pay-per-view. And basically, it was just a recap of who is going to put their name into the Royal Rumble. And it's the same people that they just recapped. So it wasn't
And
anything.
there was only 4 matches again yesterday. 4.
Was there only 4?
WWE says there's only 4.
Yeah, I mean that could have been.
But you had
There was only 4. That's crazy. Again,
it is suiting that their numbers have fell by almost half.
I'm sure, like you said, worldwide though their numbers are so much better than what they are in just the U.S. And they're probably looking at that world number versus the U.S. because that's the expansion.
Well, I'm sure they'll be able to do one-offs in countries they haven't done it before, even more revenue because of Netflix.
And if you think about it, moving their program to Netflix, still get it worldwide, but I'm pretty sure they're going to start stacking up SmackDown for the people who only have the cable. So they still have a product because Netflix, you've been having a lot of people from SmackDown and Raw on the net, on Netflix as Raw. So I'm sure it's gonna, after this pay-per-view, starts the road to WrestleMania, and that's normally when WWE's product gets really good because they want people to catch WrestleMania.
So basically, it's a Valentine's Day type of thing. Only at a key event do they start getting good. The rest of the time, it's lackluster and it's more pomp and show.
Well, so there's still really, even though there's a pay-per-view every month, the people that's been watching WWE/WWF, there was only 3 or 4 main pay-per-views. You had WrestleMania, you had the Royal Rumble, you had Survivor Series. There should have been one more. Royal Rumble, Survivor Series,
SummerSlam.
Those are the 4 majors. And then they started adding a pay-per-view every month. But they still kept those 4 as the majors. So everything would lead up to SummerSlam. Everything would lead up to the Rumble. Rumble leads up to WrestleMania. So it's a cycle for them. But normally this is when it starts getting very interesting and like it's their sweeps. Everything's building up to WrestleMania, and it always starts with the Royal Rumble. So I mean, let's just talk about the Raw. One of the best matches of the night, and it's just because I'm really loving the War Raiders. 2 guys that just got back together because one of them just came back from neck surgery. And I think they said it was L1 and L2, and that's a very rare neck surgery, and only one other person with that surgery has come back and actually wrestle, and that's Edge from AEW. But they went against Dirty Dom and JD. I'm going to butcher this last name. JD McDonough. And
I did watch a clip of his moonsault.
Yes. So it was a very great match because War Raiders are 2 bigger guys. One of them is about the same size as me, and he can do cartwheels and backflips and all this stuff, but nothing like. Yes, it's acrobatic for a fat man, but it's not acrobatic for like a skinnier person. You know, they have their own shit, but it's just
So on the
weird to
first,
see.
so this Saturday, you're going to be doing cartwheels?
No,
That's what I heard.
no. Just
think
because
I
I
heard
said
that.
he's the same size as me doesn't mean that I'm doing that shit. But yeah, so it was a great match. They had a lot of back and forth. You know, they had, you know, Dom and JD are skinny guys who just fly around the big guys. But it was a good match because it paired it off like that. You know, the smaller guy gets 3 or 4 hits in, and then bam, the big guy catches with one thing and knocks you know, their head off. But yes, there was a spot where one of the War Raiders was outside the ring, and JD jumped on the ropes from the outside to do a backflip. And when he did, he actually kind of did a flip and a half, and his whole like upper back, neck, and head hit the announcer's table. And I don't know if you've seen the announcer's table now. It's not really made like the explosive announcer's
It's
table
solid.
back in the day. It is solid. And man, he hit, and he just hit hard. And the announcers were freaking out. The ref freaked out. But the match continued. You know, Dom and the other War Raider was in there. And then JD climbed up into his corner and waited for the tag. And he finished the rest of the match, which was amazing because I swear he was going to be concussed. And it turned out he had some broken ribs. He punctured his lung. And it's got to be the ribs from like the back of your cage that that broke and went into his lungs. As soon as he didn't even make it to the curtain, like where he was totally off stage after the match. He collapsed right in the entrance, and then that's where everyone picked him up and got him out of there. So I mean, there's always been a thing. If you got hurt in the wrestling ring, you always try to continue the match unless you're that fucked up that the match had to end. You know, when Triple H, and that was a great tag team too, it was a 2-man power trip. It was Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he was going against Chris Jericho. And man, I almost want to say Benoit. I don't know who the other guy was. It might have been Benoit. But Triple H had tore his top of his thighs. What muscle group is that?
Quadricep.
Quads. He tore both quads. So technically he shouldn't have been able to walk. But he finished the match, and Chris Jericho actually put him in the walls of Jericho, which is basically Triple H is on his belly, and Chris Jericho grabs his legs and pulls back on him. So that's even stretching, the hamstrings and the quads and everything. And he was still able to finish the match because, again, it's always been a thing that if you're hurt, finish the match. Stone Cold, when he broke his neck, they should have ended the match right then and there. But instead, he called an audible for a weak-ass fucking roll-up and rolled up Owen Hart that looked totally pathetic and got the 3 count and won the Intercontinental, I think it was the Intercontinental Championship from him. Because that's how it was supposed to go. But
yeah, he tore his left quadricep going against Chris Jericho and Benoit.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, so this guy.
You still have a memory.
Yeah, and this JD, man, I always thought he was a weird character because if you ever looked at him, his head is bigger proportioned than what his body should be. So he always looks a little weird, and that's always stuck out to me. It's like something's off
That's
about you.
indicative of steroid use, I'm not saying, but the
I
head
don't
being a
think
little
so.
bit larger.
No, just the opposite. If you've seen him, he's not doing steroids. His head is just
Well,
bigger.
it doesn't go away if you've done it in the past.
No, you're not getting it. If you were to see this cat, you would see that there's no steroids in his system. It's just that his head is bigger than his body.
Watermelon head.
Yeah, I mean, it probably, his head came out, or his body came out first from his mom, and his head was, and they were trying to pull it or something, and his head
Stuck
just
in the
swelled
birth
up on
canal.
the inside. That's bad of me. I should not have said it, because this guy, he made me, back him. Ever since I seen that, I was like, damn, that guy's got fucking balls. But let's see here. There was a build-up to a New Day match. It was Xavier Woods versus Rey Mysterio. And I told you guys before, I can't get behind this heel turn that New Day is trying to do. Well, they were building it up. Xavier Woods was talking to the announcer backstage, saying that he bought up the front row for his family so they can see him beat the crap out of Rey Mysterio. So when it comes down to the match, his family is in front row, but they're all wearing shirts that say New Day sucks. And so he gets all pissed off at his family, and one of his family members throws the shirt at him. And it was just a really crappy build-up to a match that wasn't. I don't know. I just can't get behind this New Day heel turn. To me, they're always going to be like the goofy, obnoxious, tag team, and that didn't help last night either. At least in my view. There was a girls' tag team match. I think I might not have put it down here. Oh, Liv Morgan and Raquel versus Bianca. Yeah, versus Bianca Blair and Naomi. That was a match. Now, my wife doesn't normally watch wrestling, as in WWE or AEW, but she was watching it last night with me, and she was like, "This girls' match is going so slow. Like, they do the same moves, but it's just so slow." And I told her, I said, at the training facility, when I was training the A students, and they would have a new move that they want to learn, and I would tell them, I said, if there's something you want to learn that I'm not able to teach you, watch a women's wrestling match. And see if they do that move that you want to do. And, the students would ask me why. And I would tell them the same thing, that the women's matches, some are great, don't get me wrong, but most of the women's matches go at a slower pace than a men's match. And you can look at the women's match and break it down a lot easier about what way your body's got to be. If you got to turn at a split second, or if you got to tuck your head at a certain point, you can watch a woman's match most of the time and learn how to do the moves better than if you watch, like an AEW acrobatic match doing it. It's a different pace, and I was telling her that, and she can see why. Because it was it had its moments where it was good, but it definitely was a slower paced match, and it was just, there's a difference so you can see. But Dominic came out. Here lately they've been rolling around saying that Dominic's in the doghouse for Liv Morgan. Because he tried to go back to Rhea Ripley once she became the champion again, the women's champion. So he's been having to carry her luggage around and do things for her. And so he came out, interfered in the match, which allowed Liv Morgan and Raquel able to win. Not a bad match, but it definitely was a slower paced match. And I don't know if I'm explaining right. It's not slower pace that it takes them forever to do the match, but each special move that they try to pull off goes in a slow motion.
It takes half a second longer to do a body slam.
Yeah. Let's see here.
They don't
Jay
want to
Uso
really hurt
came
each
out.
other, or the guys don't care.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's the guys don't care if it's done safely. Let me say it like that. If you go a little fast and it hurts a little harder, so be it. Again, Jey Uso, like I said before, he came to the ring with a rapper. Quavo was his name. I'm not a big rap fan, so I don't know who these people are.
The podcast of white guys.
Yeah. But his big thing was saying that he lost to Gunther Saturday night's main event that just happened, and even though he lost to Gunther, he plans on winning the Royal Rumble so he can have another shot at Gunther. So another, hey, I'm entering the Rumble, which happened a lot that night. A lot of the women came out. Well, a lot of the women came out and said, "Hey, we're entering the Rumble." Bailey did that. So it's just a thing. Let's see here. Drew McIntyre went against Sami Zayn, and throughout the build-up, because they talked behind the scenes with Sami, and Sami talked to Seth Rollins. Last week, Sami accidentally hit Seth Rollins with his hula kick. When he was trying to help Seth. And then they also talked about how Sami is on a losing streak, how he's lost the last 10 matches in a row. So I really thought, Sami would pulled out this match and won it. But he went against Drew McIntyre, and this was probably the best match of the night. Well, fuck, there was only 4 matches, so how can I compare? But they fought hard. Sami Zayn busted his nose and he was bleeding through the whole match, and you can tell it wasn't predicted or planned because the ref didn't even have his gloves that he normally. Most of the time nowadays, when blood comes in a match, the ref automatically puts on gloves to protect himself. He didn't even have gloves, and there was blood everywhere.
Sami posted a picture of his nose with some stitches in it.
Yeah, and I honestly believe he did it to himself because he was doing this spinning around the guy's shoulders into like a DDT. But I think when they landed, Sami was going so fast spinning around that I think Sami's own knee came back up and hit him in the nose. At least that's what it seemed like that happened. But yeah, so there was blood everywhere. It was a great match. But Drew McIntyre got the best of it. It was a quick pin out of one of Sami's moves that Drew got. But then Drew kept on beating up on Sami. So, like I said, they've been a lot of SmackDown people's been coming over. So Cody Rhodes, comes down to help Sami, and then what was his name? Oh, Kevin Owens came out to fight off Cody Rhodes. Those are 2 SmackDown guys. Their champion versus the guy he's going against at the Royal Rumble. They're actually having a ladder match. But Drew McIntyre got Cody Rhodes up into a corner. He was beating on him. And then Sami was setting up to kick Drew. Drew moved. So Sami now kicked Cody Rhodes. Just how he did to Seth Rollins last week. So
Sami Zayn's just kicking everybody. He doesn't even care.
Yeah. And matter of fact, after it happened, Drew smiled at him, kind of telling him, thank you for the help as he rolled out of the ring. And then Kevin Owens came over to Sami, patted him on his back and said, thank you. And then he got out of the ring. And so it was just left with Sami in the ring and Cody Rhodes. And then Cody looking up at him like, why'd you do that to me? Kind of the same setup that they did last week with Seth Rollins.
Well, it sounds like Sami just trying to get the spotlight back.
Right. So one thing I will tell you, it is kind of cool how they're setting everyone up with the possibility and a reason for them to win the Royal Rumble. You know, you got John Cena out there. Now, he wasn't there last night, but, you know, he's out there saying that he needs to win the Royal Rumble for him to have a chance at a championship title reign before he gives it, before he calls it quits. You know, you got Sami Zayn saying that he's never been a champion since he's been with the WWE, not a heavyweight champion. And that he always helps others. Well, now it's time for him to help himself, and he needs this. You know, and then you got CM Punk saying that he wants his WrestleMania moment, and for him to get there, he's got to be the winner of the Rumble, so he can challenge Cody Rhodes to the championship at WrestleMania. Like I said, this is the start of WrestleMania season. So how they ended last night was, you know, Cody Rhodes, Sammy, you know, eventually left. Cody Rhodes came up and started talking. And then CM Punk came out, interrupted him, and they went back and forth. You know, probably the best line was CM Punk was saying, you know, you're at the top, and now you're going to start going down the ladder as I'm coming up the ladder, and how you're best friends. You don't know it, but they'll stab you in the back to get a shot at your belt. I can tell you I'm your only friend who will stab you in the front so you see it coming as I take the belt from you. So it was, you know, just a little poke, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah, the emotion, it's a tearjerker.
Let's see here. Like I said, it's a very small part of AEW. The only thing I want to go over, because, man, if you look online, AEW's just got a bad rap for their last show that they had. A lot of people's not caring about AEW right now. And I think it's just there's still no story. You know, WWE is the master of the storyline, and AEW just hasn't figured that out yet. They're still trying to win people over with just dream matches.
Now, I would beg to differ a little bit there. WWE is not the master of the storyline. That would be SICW.
Well,
The WWE has a thing or two to learn from us.
Yeah.
They have
Point taken.
They have the production money, but not the story.
Right.
and you know how we have a really good reputation with WWE and how friendly we've been with each other.
I wasn't joking.
I'm not joking either.
Well,
But they should. I mean, our storylines last a full year, sometimes 2 years. So, and it doesn't get boring.
If you would take our same stories from the past year and put it with their production value and money, it's what everybody would talk about.
Oh yeah. I
Well,
agree
how
with
many
that.
times some of the most common comments that we get is that reminds them of old school. And that's a compliment. Some people would take it bad, you take it as a compliment. So
All right, I was going to say this to the end, but I'll toss this out now. This came off of Eric Bischoff's podcast. He says AEW matches are like watching a bunch of kids playing Street Fighter in their backyard, unlike WWE matches, which are perfect expressions of the wrestling art form.
I disagree with the front, but not the back.
I would agree with the front and not the back.
Isn't that
You're
what I
saying
said?
that Street Fighter's better?
Yeah.
Did I say it opposite?
I think you said it opposite. And
I
say
swear
that
this is only an energy drink. There's nothing in here.
because I agree with him. AEW matches are like watching a bunch of kids play Street Fighter in their backyard. You know, it's a bunch of flippy floppy shit. Now, don't get me wrong. There's great moments in it, and I do like watching AEW, but it is night and day.
It's just button mashing. Is pretty much what it is. There's no skill. Overall,
button mashing, yeah.
no skill in art of storytelling.
So, what I was going to say about AEW, two things. One, they got a big show coming up in Australia, and they're having problems selling out the building. And so they announced as of today that they're doing 2-for-1 deals. So, 2-for-1. So you buy one ticket, you get a second ticket free, just so they can sell this arena out. Hopefully, they can sell this arena out. But the one thing I think that's going to help AEW, WWE went to Netflix. AEW is now, their pay-per-views are coming to Amazon Prime. So I think that will help them in a way.
Now, are they going to be free pay-per-views on Amazon Prime? Because Amazon Prime has a lot of pay or rents.
So it is going to be a pay for the pay-per-view.
So I don't think that necessarily helps them at all then.
I would
Well,
rather put them for in the machine.
The only reason I was going to say this before you guys interrupted, it gives another way for people to get eyes on their product. Now, it doesn't mean I don't know what the prices are going to be, but before you could buy it on, I think it's Fight TV, and you can buy it off of YouTube. But you know, Amazon Prime, you don't have to pay normally per purchase right then and there. You can get it to where it's a monthly fee that you pay for your Amazon. So I think that's a lot of people is going to look at that and say, oh, well, I don't have to pay for this until next month, so I can watch it tonight. You know, this is just another way for them to get eyes on their product. But I thought, you know, out of Netflix, which one is the, you know, taking Netflix out of the scenario, who is another number one streaming service?
Hulu.
and I get Hulu.
I use Hulu more than both of them.
But you can get pretty much anything from Hulu on Amazon Prime, because Hulu is normally, you know, the stuff that's been around a while.
They got this shows the next day.
Well, on their regular sitcoms and stuff like that, yes. I wanted to talk about NXT. Let's see. Yes, some small things. I think last week we talked about how WWE is doing a multi-year contract with TNA. You know, so they're going to be switching people around and, you know, back and forth. We talked last week that Joe Henry would probably be in the Royal Rumble. Joe Henry won their championship. Guess what? Last week or the week before. So he's already been invited to NXT a couple times now. So this would be, you know, probably just common knowledge that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. Jordan Grace, which was the TNA Women's Knockout Champion, she just signed a multi-year deal with WWE. We talked about her last week, and at her last match, you know, she went against Tesla Blanchard and lost to her. So that was her, you know, swan song, saying goodbye to TNA and moving on to WWE. She's already been at what do they call it? What's the training facility down in Florida?
The training center?
Well, yeah, but there's another name for it. But basically, it's the training center in Florida for WWE.
Performance Center?
What?
Performance Center?
Performance Center. That's what they use. She's already been there, so she's already practicing, because there is a difference coming in from one company to another that you got to tweak some things. You know, most of the time it's the ring that's the big issue. Most places wrestle in a smaller ring. WWE has the biggest ring, so you got to get your steps down, got to get your you just got to get everything worked out now, you know, compared to a smaller ring where your steps are a lot smaller, get from one side of the ring pretty quick to the next. But yeah, so just practicing in their rings. Let's see here. Oh, one other thing about Jordan Grace. She is the only woman in TNA that is their Triple Crown champion, meaning she's been 3 times. She was their heavyweight, well, their female heavyweight champion, but she's also the digital media champion at one time, and she's also won the women's tag team championships as well.
What's the digital media champion? What is that?
You know, it
Could be any kind of digital media.
Yeah, AEW has one too, and that's the one that Cody Rhodes was normally the champion of. But basically, it's any kind of social media. It's still a championship belt, and you still wrestle for it, but it's kind of like their version of a TV champion. You know, back in the day, NWA would have a TV champion, and then they have a world champion. The TV champion was on every TV program. So every TV show, you're guaranteed to have the TV champion defend his belt on TV, where the world champion would come in like once a month or something and wrestle on their TV program. So that's kind of like an updated version. Now it's the digital championship, you know, instead of a TV, you know, because now you can see it on platforms instead of the TV itself, even though it's still on TV.
Tessa Blanchard, who took the title from her, was the heavyweight champion once.
Yeah, we brought that up too. You know, and a lot of people are backing her, but those people that are backing her are still getting buried and saying, I can't believe you're backing this racist. We talked last week, that match that she had against Jordan Grace, the whole time during the match, the fans was shouting at her, you're a racist, you know, through the whole thing. And we had done a podcast. I don't know if you were on that podcast, Bobby, where we talked about second chances and how we should give her a second chance because, you know, she made amends. The person that she was called out for being racist to, you know, she patched things up. They took pictures together, you know, showing the world that, hey, we're moving past this. But it seems like a lot of the fans aren't giving her a second chance. And just, you know, talking about Hogan.
They're racist.
Well, just talking about Hogan. This guy is the king of second chances. I mean, he's had probably 15, 20, you know, second chances. Where this is her first time.
A long time ago.
Well, like I said, this is her first time fucking up and being called out for it. So, you know, I was talking about how we should give her a second chance. You know, of course, you know, we weren't behind stage and seeing what all she was called out for, you know.
Yeah, but I know she was excited to get the go-ahead from the squared ring.
I'm sure that's all she cared about.
For the girl that got rubbed wrong and her to forgive it, like that should be all we need right there.
Right.
The people that were actually involved.
I did want to bring this up. We kind of brought it up in the very beginning. I don't know if we were recording, but Logan Paul did come out. Well, first it started out with Seth Rollins. Sorry to back jump to WWE, but it just made me think about it. Talking about Hulk Hogan. So Seth Rollins comes out, talks about how he don't know who he's going to challenge once he wins the Rumble. If he's going to challenge Cody Rhodes or if he's going to challenge Gunther. And so Gunther comes out and says, I hope you do win the belt because, I hope you do win the Rumble because when you do, I'm going to wipe the floor with you and make you wish that you wouldn't have chosen me. And that's when Logan Paul came out. And as soon as he grabbed the mic to start to talk, he got booed so loud. I mean, it was worse than Hulk Hogan 3 weeks ago. I mean, they would not let him talk. And he tried to talk over them, and they just got louder, you know. And you could tell it wasn't like a pumped-in boo because you can describe or hear that sound. This was just the fans, and they showed the fans, and even the announcers announced that he doesn't have the fanfare that he used to have. Now, I have no problems with Logan Paul. I did at the beginning because it's just another guy who's famous doing something else, coming into the sport. And, you know, you got those guys that come in and they do a match that it's not an actual match. It's more of a
very subpar.
an entertainment type of match. Logan Paul, started training and started working, and he's had some of the greatest highlights in the last 2 years.
He has legit put his body on the line where I'm surprised he's not hurt.
Yeah. And I am so, every time he comes in, he always tries to steal, and this is how we all should be. He tries to steal the spotlight from everyone. And we always were told, if you're having a match, you should try to make your match the top fucking match, so they remember you. Kind of like WrestleMania 3. That show should have been known for Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. The slam heard round the world. But it kind of got overshadowed by Macho Man versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And, even Hogan doesn't like to admit it, but every now and then he'll talk about Macho Man versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. But that's how every wrestler should. You want your match to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if you're on first or second or you are the main event, you want your match to be the best. Now,
speaking of main event, Bobby, your match needs to be the best.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah,
I'm on Hogan good.
Let me just say, that's it from like the WWE and AEW and TNA. It's just the big fact that Logan Paul got booed so bad. So let's get to the great stuff. Yes, this Friday we have two main events. Our very own Bobby D versus Glenn Williams in a no DQ match for the Central States title.
Glenn keeps talking online saying that no DQ benefits him the most. And I don't understand his thinking on that, because the DQ is the majority of the way he has kept that title from me. I have won all of those matches by DQ, and that's where he keeps the title. Like, now it won't get stopped when he tries one of those underhanded things. It'll keep going, and then I'll just shove a chair down his throat.
Now, even with a no DQ, are there any rules that he can use to try and steal the belt, like throwing you over the top rope or anything like that?
No, because it's no DQ. I could throw him over the top rope all day long.
Yes,
and maybe that'll be the first thing I do, just for fun.
Make sure you do it towards my cameras, and we'll be good.
If you caught the live show of SICW this past Sunday, me and Herb were in the chat along with like 20 other people, fans of SICW, doing the live chat. And someone brought up the fact that, Sean and Trent should be, banned or handcuffed or anything. And I said, you know what would be great is if you handcuff me to Trent with one hand and handcuff me to Sean with the other. I said, then we know it will be a straight up match between Glenn and Bobby.
Bring them out. Let them come on out, because I would like to put my hands on them anyway. And I'm sure I got you where you can come out and give them a lariat if need be.
But I would love to see you handcuffed to both those guys.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. I mean, of course, for them to get the upper hand, they would have to beat the crap out of me. But I tell you, I would love to be able to be handcuffed to them and just whoop both of their asses on the side.
I'm going to say the only way they would stand a chance with you is if they could stick and move, and they're not doing that handcuffed.
No. Because even if they knock me down on the ground, they won't be able to drag my ass anywhere.
I have to talk to Herb about that on Saturday, see if we can get you in a handcuff match, huh?
Well,
I don't even think I want him handcuffed. I think I'd rather Texan just come out and give him a lariat.
Yeah, but they can't run. You can still lariat him. Handcuff him to the left.
If he just gives them a lariat, they're not running anywhere anyway.
That's true.
I still have a mystery opponent because I don't know who I got. because with last month being canceled, the people that Herb was bringing in can't make it this show. So I don't know. But we do know what the other co-main event is, and that's for the classic title, and that's the 450-pound Kowalski taking on Joel Helms. What's he called?
Silverback.
Yeah, Silverback. So that's going to be another great match, and I hate for Joe Helms to win the title because I would love to take it off the guy who took it off of me. But if Joe Helms does win the title, we might be friends, but I'll be coming after him. So
No friends in the ring.
right, there's no friends in the ring. But yeah, so besides that, let me just call this out. February the 1st is Herb Simmons' 52nd year as being a promoter. And I was talking to a person today, and I was like, there's only a handful of people across the U.S. that has that kind of years in the business, being a promoter. You would say, Vince Sr. You might even say Vince Jr., but now I don't even know since he got, kind of shit canned.
I'll say he's not a promoter no more.
Yeah, he's not a promoter no more. But yeah, so he is like 1 in 5, of the longest reigning promoter. So I'm sure, he hasn't said much about it, but he did say that there's going to be a celebration for it. So I don't know what he's got planned or anything like that, but there might be a surprise or two, just for, maybe, it's just the wrestlers getting together and getting them something and presenting it to them, or, having a big
Jimmy
cake.
Hart isn't there, if Jimmy Hart isn't there, I'd be surprised because they are damn close friends.
Yeah, so who knows? But he did say that it's going to be a
Tito,
celebration, and and then we got those 2 main events. But I don't know. I don't know who's going to be on the card because we were supposed to have Austin, Malatalo. We were supposed to have the guy from Chicago, and then Gabba Dabba Doo guy. Yeah. So I don't know. But that just means these 2 main events has just got to be the best fucking main events. And I have no doubt that you guys can make this shit happen. So
I'll try to drag it out and not just beat him within 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah. 15 minutes of you just beating his ass. That'll make me happy.
There will be blood.
Some new names that got dropped for the Fan Fest. Depending on which picture he shows up. Okay, so he was announced a few weeks ago. I think we announced him like a month ago. But Herb just sent out the poster again. So I'll be kind of interested to see.
That was the one that surprised me when I saw it.
Yeah, so me and Herb went to a show in St. Louis, and Warhorse came up to us, and we were talking to him, and Herb asked for his number, and I kind of knew, and this was early last year, but I know Herb works slow sometimes, and works, he puts the people in the right position at the right time. So this is a way for Warhorse to come in. He used to wrestle for SICW when he first started. And
I have matches with him on YouTube.
He was a very skinny guy. He's definitely put on some more muscle, and has been seen everywhere now. Everywhere in St. Louis he's wrestled for AEW. He went against Cody Rhodes in AEW.
Orange Cassidy.
Yes, so he's definitely been so close to reaching the goals of all the wrestlers, making it to the big 3. So he's right there. He's right there with the likes of Brandon Beretta and Austin Militalo. except for he's a little bit closer because he's had that exposure where he was able to wrestle a Cody Rhodes, you know.
Yeah, but
So
Brandon's rise is quick. You guys did a good job training Brandon. Gave him that drive, and his rise has been quick.
yeah,
You can't give somebody that drive. They got to have that on their own. That's something you can't teach.
yeah.
You give them credit for that.
Got to give him credit. Because one thing I don't know if we expressed this as much. You know, Brandon, quit his job. He was making great money. He was a higher up in Amazon. He quit his job for wrestling. He uprooted it. He just moved into a house and uprooted himself to live 3/4 of the week in a different state. And so you can't teach that. That kid's got a lot of drive. And he's constantly on the road. He bought a piece of shit little 4-cylinder car just because he knew how much miles he was going to put on this car. Because, like he said before, he'll go from Ohio and Iowa down to Kentucky, down to Louisiana where he's wrestled. He flew into Texas and wrestled out there for the NWA. Matter of fact, he just posted that he's going to be on the next WLW card, and I'm going to go out there and see that because that's going to be a hell of a show. Unfortunately, Attila Khan's going to be on that show, so I might have to boo him from the crowd, but it's going to be a good show, so I'll probably go out to that. I think that's February the 8th.
Let me know. I might carpool out there with you.
You know what, Bobby? I don't know if you and I forgot the date. I found out, it was a surprise to me by watching SICW this past Sunday. But Herb Simmons entered us into a pizza eating contest.
Your pizza eating contest.
Yeah, so it's going to be at Benny's downtown.
Who told me
Belleville.
about it?
He didn't even tell me about it. I didn't have no clue until I watched it. And I was like, oh, so I'm going to be in a pizza eating contest.
He called me about it.
Yeah. It's got stipulations because, the likes of Kowalski is going to be there. So we've got to get along. Again, Herb is very strict on this stuff to where, when it's a special place.
Cross-promotional.
Yeah, we might yell at each other, but we can't do anything stupid.
February 27th at 5 p.m.
I will
February
say
27th?
22.
Okay.
I will say, if you have not had Benny's pizza, it is very good, especially the pulled pork barbecue pizza.
I've been there many a times, and man, their cheese bread is awesome. It's always great to have a Fitz's soda because they got their sodas there.
The margaritas are good too.
Yes.
Come on, guys! It's almost 10 o'clock. You're gonna make me want pizza from Benny's.
They shouldn't be closed yet, I don't think.
It looks like something we should be filming too, huh?
Yeah,
for the podcast.
It'll definitely be filmed.
No, I mean us filming.
Yeah. I mean, you do the filming for SICW, so it will be us filming somehow.
Well, I'm gonna make sure of it.
Yeah. Let's see. There's a couple more to add to at least one more to add to the Mayfest. Herb announced that Adol the Butcher is coming back.
I thought we announced that last week.
No, I think that just came out Sunday. So Adol the Butcher is coming back to the Fan Fest. It's always good to have him there because it's a Bruiser Brody memorial. So to have his biggest rival there, being Adol the Butcher, it's just suiting. And behind the scenes, as the years gone on, everyone respects each other. So he's got much respect for Barbara Goodish and Bruiser Brody. So yes, it's always good to have a duel back. And the last time, man, I helped him to his room, and he was just telling me stories of places he's been, and it was kind of awkward because he came with his
Nephew.
it was his nephew, but it was a lady that kind of chaperones him. And so, it was us in this room, and you can tell we just entered the room, and we were talking all the way up the elevator, down the halls, and everything. But he kept wanting to talk, and she was like, "We just flew on this airplane ride. We just drove here to the hotel. I want to get comfortable." And you can tell this is happening, but he is not letting up on these stories, and he wants you to sit there and listen to him. And then finally, after trying to excuse myself out of this room for a while, I eventually just had to leave. And then she kind of like hopped on the bandwagon and said, "Oh yeah, he's got to go and do some other stuff too, while we freshen up, And that's what got me out of the room. Now, granted, I would have loved to just sat there and been the fly on the wall and listen to it all, but I knew.
Oh, I don't think you want to listen to him freshen up.
No, not that part. Damn it, Bobby. You and Nate, I tell you, both of you.
You're the one that said that they got to freshen up. You want to be a fly on the wall listening.
I said that his stories.
Yeah, last year, his nephew and I, we hung out for a couple hours and talked, and he's as nice as his uncle. He's as nice as Abdul.
Yes.
Agree. I did the same with him.
Matter of fact,
Smart kid, nice. He had a lot of stories hanging out with his uncle too. So
I hung around him, hung around the Canadian crowd that comes in. Only
Yeah.
Canadians I seem to get along with.
right. And we even had great times with Haku last year. When Haku was a better man.
when he was a friend. The
You're right.
funniest thing is when everybody was drinking outside and Haku was telling that guy the proper way to treat his wife.
Oh yeah.
That
Speaking
was
of that,
funny.
So that's actually my friend James. He did that too. And
Yes.
then his wife Jen kept talking and talking and talking. Goes, never mind. I see why you do.
Best part, I posted a picture of Abdul, and that night that everyone was sitting out there drinking, he came out there, and she was all over him saying, "Oh, look at you, you look like Super Mario brother."
I still bring that up to her. I'm like, I can't believe you said that to Abdul the Butcher. She's like,
Yeah.
what? You did. He had blue overalls and a bright red shirt. Like, you don't have to say it to him.
That was some funny shit.
I don't remember him being outside. I think it was
He came out for a very brief moment, like 5 minutes tops.
Well,
and he was in.
Had her trying to sit on his lap, and she was, saying, "Oh, you look like Super Mario brother." Of course, he wanted to go back inside. Fuck this bitch.
Oh, I think that was the time that I was hanging out with Jimmy.
Definitely could have been. But anyway, let's move on to some cool things. We talked about them. You can cue the toy picture now. Or I liked your new one that you pulled out today. How did it begin? You have this stuff, or did you
Damn,
have
boy,
this
where'd you find that?
You're right. So I have some new in package, and I have some old. So the new in package, I told you I was going to Target, and I was searching for a particular wrestler. I found some other ones too. So this will be technically my second AEW guy, but we have this guy right here, which is Adam Page. He was the guy that got into the fight with CM Punk in AEW, where they both got in trouble. Now check out this price, $5.99. Fucking steal, I tell you. That's the only reason I picked him up, though. This
Ouch,
one was.
AEW.
Yeah, you're right. Because the only other AEW guy that I got is it's two versions. So technically, this is the third figure. I had 2 figures of Cody Rhodes when they did the LJN style, where it's the hard rubber. They did 2 versions of him, one in red, one in blue, and I thought that was really cool that they threw it back to the old LJN style. So I picked those up. So this would be the third AEW guy. This one was $6.89, and I kind of know why. I had to pick him up. This is Farouk. Ron Simmons. Great fan, a friend of SICW. He's come to a lot of our shows. Had some great pictures, great memories, because Ron was the guy that they brought in when we did Wrestling at the Chase. Him and, of course, Jimmy Hart. So Ron was very cool. I remember him watching my match. He watched Bobby's match, too, because I was actually hanging out with Ron when Bobby's match was going on. This figure, a little undesirable because the head scope does not look like Ron Simmons. But I had to pick him up. Fuck, $6. Minton package, good. But I found him. Ravishing Rick Rude.
No, you both got one.
Yeah, so is that the same one? Is that
Yep.
the WCW?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is
So
awesome.
I did not see the regular one there. And when I first looked down that aisle, I was like, holy shit, that's the fucking Chase. So I did pick him up. I'm debating if I want to open him up or not.
No.
I don't know if I want to. Maybe if I get the regular version, I'll open the regular version and keep the Chase in the package. But I think it's so cool that I was able to find him. And evidently Bobby found him too.
Yeah.
All right. So I got an eBay purchase. And this guy does not look like what he did when he wrestled for the WWE. But this is Hercules. Now, some people knew Hercules from Power and Glory when he was a tag team in Power and Glory, which was a guy who Paul Roma, and I think Paul Roma, didn't we announce him? Was he at? I think he's coming to our Fan Fest.
Yeah, I think so, but he wasn't at last year's.
Yeah. So this is Hercules. Now Hercules did not wrestle in this outfit. This was an outfit that he actually wore to the ring and then went down to just the trunks, and only had the long hair for a little period of time. So he did get a LJN figure, even though it does not look like him. But this is Hercules. And then I seen a post on Facebook. It's a guy that sometimes shows up to SICW. Sometimes he sets up his booth and sells his merchandise. Rob Schneider, he posted a picture of a bunch of LJNs, and there's 3 of them that he had that I needed. And when I tell you it's 3 of the harder ones to find, they are very hard to find where the paint isn't fucked up. The last 6, actually, I think it was the last series, but I think there was only 6 wrestlers where, like this one, Hercules, like his skin tone is the first layer of paint, and then they paint on the rest of this stuff. I'm going to show you. So one of the main hard ones to find is the $1 Million Man. And, most of his figure is black. So his whole figure is black, and then they actually paint on the skin tone. So if you look close, his nose is black because it rubs off. And the whole figure is actually black, except for the smaller stuff is just painted on. So unless you buy a mint in the package, is very hard to find. These last couple that I'm going to show you, very good. Now this one is pretty decent. His dollar sign on the back is very good. The white, it's just really his skin on his hands and his nose that the paint is starting to rub off on. But a very good pickup. This one is the worst one to find mint because his whole body is blue. So under his skin, his hair, his hands is all blue. So when his paint rubs off, you can see the little blue showing through. But he is one of the last from the series, the Honky Tonk Man. He comes normally with a guitar, but the guitar is harder to find. And if you have an original guitar, now they repo them, not repo, but remake them. And if you have original one, this thing is like hundreds of dollars. One that doesn't have that problem with being the color stuff, old Jim Duggan. He is a harder one to find. He's not one of the last series. He does come with a 2x4. And the 2x4 alone is probably worth $75. So if you ever find an original 2x4 and put them with the figure is probably worth about $150. Mint, though, right out of the package or even in the package, you're talking in the package, you can probably pick one up for about $700. This one has just a little rub nose problem, but a little paint off the back of the head. But other than that, he looks really good. Now, I'm not looking for mint ones. I would love to have mint ones, I'll tell you, but I know the prices are just crazy for mint. So I will take these as definitely a standing figure that I'll put in my collection.